Hello everyone, Matt Boyle here. Today we're going to continue on with my video series about what it's like to teach at the university level in China. I'm going to discuss what an average contract and salary should look like, how that squares with the cost of living in the country, and how you can make some extra money on the side if you need to. If you're unfamiliar with the Chinese city you plan to move into, it can be really hard to know if a job offer is fair or not because you don't really know what the cost of living is like in that city. So besides discussing the cost of living with your prospective employer, I recommend that you get into contact with some other foreigners who live in the city that you want to live in or who work at the university that you want to work at. And you can find them through YouTube or the internet. If they're anything like me, they'll be happy to answer your questions. You can also ask your prospective employer for the contact information of their past or present foreign teachers. They're usually happy to give that information to you. And you can ask these foreign teachers generally if they've been happy in that city or that university. Have the bosses been fair with them and upheld their ends of the contracts? And you can also ask them if the salary the university is offering is good enough to cover the cost of living and what the cost of living is really like. Besides doing those things, you can compare the offers you're finding out there with the averages that I will discuss in this video, and you can also feel free to contact me directly. So let's talk about the salary first, and what I'm going to discuss with you is just an average based on my 5 years experience teaching at 4 different universities, some in the north, some in the south, and all of my experiences, collecting them together in my mind, I feel like I can come up with a pretty good average for you. If you are a very highly qualified teacher, or if you're going to a very prestigious university, or if you are teaching a specific content area like math or chemistry or science or engineering, if you're coming with that background, then you should expect to see higher salaries. And if you are not highly qualified and you're just coming to teach English, which is common, a lot of foreign teachers come to do that, and if you're going to a smaller school or a less well-known school in a smaller city, then you can expect to get lower salary. But in my opinion, these days at an average university, you should expect to see a monthly salary of about 6,000 RMB, give or take 500 RMB. But at that salary level, you shouldn't have to be teaching more than about 20 hours of classes a week. You should also expect to see free accommodations, free basic health insurance, and a round-trip flight reimbursement usually valued at between 10,000 and 15,000 RMB. Also, you should check closely to see how long the contract period actually is and how many times you're paid per contract period. A one-year contract, quote-unquote, is actually about 10 months because that's how long a school year typically lasts, from the beginning of September through the end of June. So you might only get paid once a month for 10 months, and you might be expected to leave your accommodations at the end of those 10 months. But in my experience, if you were to sign a 2-year contract, or you let your bosses know early enough, perhaps in the spring, that you were planning to stay on again in the fall, then you should be able to get paid through the summer, or receive some kind of year-end bonus, or a travel bonus, or a stipend at the very least. And of course, they should let you continue to live in your same place. So I mentioned the number 6,000 RMB for the average monthly salary. And how does that square with the cost of living? Well, in my experience, I've been able to save about half of that pretty easily each month. And I think the biggest reason why I'm able to save that much money is, of course, because my apartment is free through the school. And you can see what my apartment looks like in my other video in this series on accommodations. It's certainly not the best apartment I've ever had, and it's certainly not the worst, but if I had to pay for it myself, it would take almost a third of my salary each month. So that's something to consider. Also, food in China can be insanely cheap, especially if you get your produce from the local markets and cook for yourself. An average meal out on the streets could be just 15 RMB, and if you were to cook for yourself, it could easily be half that. So, altogether, food might cost you between 1,000 and 1,500 RMB each month. So other cheap factors are clothing, your basic daily necessities, your day-to-day shopping, basic medical care and treatments, and also transportation in and around the cities and even in China. On the other hand, there are several ways that you could burn up that 6,000 RMB pretty quick, but it really comes down to you and how thrifty you are and your lifestyle preferences. If you like to eat at nice restaurants regularly, including foreign restaurants and Western-style restaurants, if you like to drink, if you like to go to the bars and clubs a lot, or if you like to buy imported alcohols, if you like to travel or live in above average comfort, for example, if you like to furnish your free accommodations to a high standard, or if you happen to be supporting another person or a family, these are all reasons why your university teacher's salary probably wouldn't be enough. And that brings me to my next point, which is how could you make some more money if you wanted to? Well, university teachers often make extra money on the side by working a second or third job. One easy thing to do is simply to teach more. You could teach at a primary or secondary school. Sometimes those are affiliated with your university. Sometimes, like at the university I'm at now, they actually want me to visit their high school from time to time and kind of build the relationship with the high school. There's sometimes affiliated primary schools and secondary schools that they're connected with the university and they share teachers and students and programs. Sometimes you can get involved with that and teach at those schools on the side, and of course they'll pay you extra for that. You can teach at training schools, which abound in China, and they're usually pretty flexible with their work hours and their understanding that your primary job is with the university, and they'll work you into their schedules, and you can tell them how many hours you're free to work each week. You could also tutor. Though it can take time, I think, to find a good tutoring relationship with one person or a small group of people. It is sometimes very easy to find tutoring jobs, but they don't always last very long. So it can take time to find and develop a tutoring relationship with a student or a group of students that will last over time and can be a reliable source of secondary income for you. So, native English speakers are always in demand for those types of jobs, but if not teaching, you could do any other kind of job part-time that you have the interest and the qualifications for. It really just comes down to you. So many people are working online now from home. Maybe you want to start or grow your small business. Maybe you're into writing, doing blogs, or translation work. And doing these extra jobs on the side could easily net you a few thousand extra RMB every month, and you will have the free time to do it. But I should mention that having other jobs is technically forbidden according to most university contracts. But that rule is rarely enforced, and employers tend to look the other way, especially if you're doing your primary job with them well and you're not so open about how much extra money you're making on the side and what other kinds of jobs you're doing. So if you don't make a big show of it and you do your primary job with the university well, they shouldn't bother you about it. Personally, I would not take on an extra job if I felt my employers were very strict about it, because if they find out you're making extra money on the side through a second job, and they decide to take action against you, they can fine you or blacklist you, which will negatively impact your future work opportunities in China. I also wouldn't do that if it was simply taking too much time and energy away from my primary job, because obviously that's why I'm here, that's why I have my work visa and a free place to live. So I want to do that job well first and foremost. I owe it to my students. To learn more about this topic, including some tips for stretching your university teacher's salary farther without taking on extra jobs, hit the link in this video to visit the companion blog article that I wrote up and just scroll to the bottom. And if you found today's video helpful, I welcome you to like and subscribe to it to help other people who are looking for this information find it more easily. Finally, if you have any questions about the salaries and contracts of a university teacher in China, or you want to know a little bit more about the cost of living here, feel free to post your questions in the comments section. Thanks so much for your continuing viewership, and I'll see you back here next time.